everyone, I am Ridada and I will be your host. Today, NART TV would like to welcome a very special guest, the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Turkey of the Hashmite Kingdom of Jordan. Welcome, Mr. Murat Karagöz.
Thank you.
We are very happy to meet with you today, and thank you very much for taking the time out to spend the time with us.
Thank you for having me guest to your TV channel.
So, Mr. Ambassador, would you be so kind to tell us a little bit about yourself and about the journey that has brought you to Jordan?
I was born about 50 years ago in Istanbul. I had my high school and my university in Istanbul. With the age of 22, I joined the Foreign Service. I served several countries, and in the year 2013, I was appointed as the Turkish ambassador to Mongolia. Having finished there 3 years, so last summer, I received a phone call by our Foreign Minister, His Excellency Mr. Mevlut Çavuşoğlu, declaring that Turkish government has decided, and then His Excellency President Erdogan has endorsed to appoint me as the Turkish ambassador to the Hashmite Kingdom of Jordan. So since last November, mid-November, I'm here and I'm happy to be in Jordan.
Well, Jordan welcomes you with open arms, and we are very glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since you have been in Jordan, we have heard a lot of wonderful comments from you in regards to Circassians. Can you tell us a little bit about what Circassians mean to Turkey?
Circassians means a lot to Turkey. Actually, Turkey is a melting pot of various ethnic groups, beliefs. That makes Turkey different than the other countries. Because Ottoman Empire was a multi-ethnic, multicultural, multinational empire. So it was a melting pot of different cultures. Therefore, it was a strong empire, actually, which lasted 623 years. So the Republic of Turkey was established on the ashes of Ottoman Empire by the great leader of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, as you know. So Turkey has today a population of 80 million. Though in census, we don't ask people their ethnic origin, but we know that. I mean, it is very difficult to describe a real Turk because our blood is mixed with many different parts of the world. So like Bosniaks, like Albanians, like Kurds, like Arabs, we have also Circassian community in Turkey. They are part and parcel and inseparable part of the Turkish nation. And then we respect them, we welcome them with their culture, with their difficult language, with their curiosity, and then with their abilities, of course. And then I knew that when I was appointed here, that there is also a highly respected Circassian community in Jordan, which date back to 19th century with the Turkish-Russian War, 1878, 1877, 1878. We told this in Turkish, 93 Harbi, 93 war, according to that calendar at that time. So they came here and they made Jordan, actually. So they are now and highly respected and regarded part of the Jordanian society. We know that the guard of the royal palace is composed of the Circassian. We know that there are a lot of bureaucrats, ambassadors, senators, representatives, governors, and generals in the army. So they are really very keen to contribute to the better future of this society. So they live in harmony with different ethnic groups, but above all, of course, they are Jordanian citizens. So as the Turkish ambassador, who has also in his country a Circassian minority, I'm very proud of you, and congratulations. I look forward to working with you more and more.
Oh, thank you. That is very nice. And just to touch a little bit about what you said, Circassians of Jordan and Turkey have a lot in common. And when we look back in our history, Circassians were part of the Ottoman Empire.
Absolutely.
And they helped build the area. And so how can Circassians build a stronger bond together between Jordan and Turkey, especially when it comes down to the economics? How can they build a bond and better the economics between each other?
As you know, Turkey and Jordan has deep historical and cultural ties. Actually, in the modern history, this very year, we are observing the 70th year of anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations. But our relations date back many centuries ago. Nearly 400 years, Turks and Arabs lived together as you know. So when the Jordan was established as Emirates in 1921, and then after that in 1946 declared its independence, Circassians have always been there. And in the modern history, we do enjoy really excellent relations with Jordan. Political, economic, commercial, social, cultural, scientific, academic, and military relations. They are very robust, and we do really regard Jordan as a linchpin in this part of the world. And we are happy that Turkey enjoys really very good relations with regard to Jordan. As far as the Circassians are concerned, together with their relatives in Turkey, but generally embracing with nearly 90 million total population, 80 plus nearly 10 million here in Jordan, I guess they can build a bridging role between both countries. And we know that also the economic sector and that the commercial relations are very important. In Turkey, there is a very vivid economy, very active, very dynamic economy, despite many challenges we are facing domestically, regional, and international. So they can give a necessary guidance to the Turkish private sector where Turkey can invest, for instance, in this very country, where it is more profitable, where they can benefit from the human resources. So therefore, I really regard the role of the Circassians in Jordan in terms of developing further economic and commercial relations between both countries very much.
Well, since we're talking about the economy, and it is no secret that Jordan has been suffering a little bit with its economy due to the situation in this area. And Turkey has been doing great, and we're very happy. They've been very successful with their economy. So how can we have the two countries collaborate to face these challenges together and maybe help each other out?
Yes, this is true. First of all, thank you very much for the compliments. It was not easy. Turkey will be celebrating this year the 94th year of its anniversary for the proclamation of the Republic. We entered a multi-party democracy in 1950, and since 1980 we are implementing free market economy. But throughout 80s, 90s we faced many economic challenges, and mostly due to regional and international developments and turbulence. However, starting with the 2001 and 2002 actually, Turkey had to take many economic measures, strong economic measures. Actually, I had to go back 3 years ago because in 1999, Turkey faced with one of the greatest ecologic challenges in his history. The Marmara earthquake shook Turkey, and we lost 18,000 population. But not only the human loss, they shook also the mostly industrially developed parts of Turkey. Istanbul, Izmit, in this part now. And then at the end of 2000 and the beginning of 2001, in the National Security Council meeting, the then president had some quarrel with the then Turkish Prime Minister. We call it so-called the constitutional crisis. So this political crisis turned immediately, in a very short span of time, into a big economic and financial crisis in Turkey. Taken together with the 2-3 years of baggage emanating from the earthquake, we faced really one of the largest economic and social crises of Turkey. And then there were at that time new elections, and the current leading party came into power as one party government. There was no coalition government, and then they took necessary measures, monetary measures, fiscal measures, economic and trade related measures. So the governor of the central bank actually was not giving any kind of tolerance to any kind of politicizing issues. So he was very strong, very tough, taken together with the political stability and with the right projection. Turkey really achieved a lot. We tripled our per capita income since then, and we performed really economically great. I mean, more the average of the Turkey, more average of Europe, and within the OECD countries, actually we were number one. So after China, actually, in the year of 2009, 10, 11, all those years, I mean, Turkey's growing rate was really amazing. The measures were so functional and so operative that when the recent economic and commercial crisis economic and financial crisis, which emanated from United States, came into all Europe, it did not affect Turkey. On the contrary, we continued our growing path in all those years. So of course, I mean, as you know, that we are passing through difficult moments when it comes to the Middle East, when it comes to the Turkey itself, fight against terrorism, etc. They all affect, of course, the economic performances. But despite all these challenges, in the first quarter, Turkey really again proved an amazing performing race, more than 4.5%. So we don't know how will it be towards the end of the year, but we are striving for the best.
Well, we are wishing you guys the best always. I mean, it's
you very
wonderful
much.
to have a country performing really well, especially
Thank you very
economically
much.
in
And
this
then
area. in
we
this
look
time.
forward to working more with Jordan, of course, in terms of increasing our trade, in terms of increasing the Turkish investment in this very country, and let the Jordanians benefit from our experience and accumulative, I mean, acquis communautaire, that we basically developed so far in terms of legislation as well.
That is wonderful. And now we will be taking a short break, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the interview with the ambassador, Mr. Murat Karagöz. Thank you very much again for being with us today. So, Mr. Ambassador, both Jordan and Turkey have very strong and great leaders who have many things in common. His Majesty King Abdullah II and His Excellency President Recep Erdogan are both very active and motivated and persistent about always bettering their countries. So, how can we, as the popular sector, assist in helping them develop their future plans?
You mean the public sector or the people?
The public sector.
The public sector, okay. I mean, as the government.
As the government and the people. I mean,
the
if we
people.
can, if we can talk about both, the public sector and the people, and how we
Okay.
can both help with their development plans for the future for their countries.
Yes.
And and help them with the success that they are hoping to achieve.
Yes, yes. Well, let me start in very much underlining what you said. Both countries really have great leaders. We are proud of them. His Excellency Majesty King Abdullah, as well as Mr. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, are great leaders. Above all, they're loved and respected by their people. Jordan might be monarchy, Turkey could be republic. However, we have many other common things. First of all, we both advocate moderation in our region. We are against extremism. We unite our force fight against terrorism. We both suffer from the humanitarian crisis in Syria. Our trade routes were blocked. We also would like to see a better Iraq next to us, because Syria and Iraq together, taken together, are common neighbors. So therefore we have a lot to common. So definitely they're trying their best to give their population so that the countries may flourish. Turkey is the 6th largest economy in Europe and the 17th largest in the world. We are a member of G20, as you know. So we are striving for best, because we have also ultimate new objectives, new goals. 2023, when the Republic will celebrate 100th anniversary, inshallah, we will be having really new goals. And one of the goals, or the number one goal, is actually to bring Turkey one of the top 10 economy in the world. We know that which is not easy. We know that the conditions are not there yet. However, we have still some more years, 6-7 years, to achieve until that goal. So when it comes to foreign policy, both countries really faces tremendous challenges. So therefore, they have to, through their leadership, have to act, have to play a moderation role in the region. The crises are tremendous. Both economic crises are there, political crises are there, but we need to overcome them. There is no alternative to work hard and to get over all these crises. So as the people of our countries and as the public sector, we must help them. I am, for instance, a member of the Turkish bureaucracy. I am a member of the Turkish Foreign Service. I already exercising this job for the last 27 years. As a diplomat, I am helping for my country to defend the national interests of Turkey abroad and also to represent Turkey. These are the two important missions of a diplomat. This is what I am doing in Jordan as well. However, diplomacy has shaped also in a different way. Now, diplomats do not sit only behind their doors and then go only meet with ministers or state secretaries, but there is a new term which is invented, as you know, a couple of years ago, so-called public diplomacy, which means diplomats now also on the street with the civil society, with the NGO, with the private sector. They go, they travel, and then they act as the ordinary citizens so that to get the better sense of the country. So therefore, both the public sector as well as the people must work together harder. One of the things maybe you have seen already since I came here, I keep underlining or emphasizing is that Turkey and Jordan must unite their forces vis-a-vis these common challenges. We need to consult more, we need to cooperate more. And then when we are talking relations between both countries, we should not also ignore the people-to-people relations. And the basis is there. We have visa-free travel regime, we have a free trade agreement, and we have regular flights, be it Turkish Airlines or Air Jordan. So Turkish people must come here more to understand and to see the beauties of Jordan. And then Jordanians must go to I know that it is one of the favorite destinations for them.
It's my favorite destination.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I mean, I met so many Jordanian people so far. Among the top destinations for them is Istanbul, Bodrum, Izmir, Trabzon, Konya, Antalya. So, but we also need the Turks back here in Jordan to see the beautiful Petra, Wadi Rum, Ajlun, Jerash, Amman itself, of course, Dead Sea, and many other beauties.
So you've been here for a little while now. What's your favorite place in Jordan?
Good question. Of course, most of the time I spend in Amman. However, so far I covered nearly 70-80% of the country. There are very few governorates that I haven't been yet, but I passed through. But of course, Petra is one of the most favorite one. Aqaba I have been already twice. Salt is an important city. And a former Ottoman city and used to serve also as capital here. Ajlun and Jerash, they are really beautiful. I have been many times, even spent some times in Dead Sea. So many places in Jordan are really beautiful.
Yeah, that's wonderful, wonderful. We're glad you're enjoying your time here.
Thank you, I do.
Thank you. So in this area, as we know it, people have different political views and they have different clashes and problems, and they are segmented and they are in different alliances and different camps. Where does Turkey stand in this whole situation?
Turkey is a unique country, and not only with this historical background, but also with the geographical position. As a matter of fact, geography and history dictate the country's vision and direction. If I ask you, how do you describe Turkey? Maybe you will say a Mediterranean country. Maybe somebody will say a European country. However, on the contrary, somebody will say Asian country. Somebody will say Black Sea country. Somebody will say Caucasus. So Turkey is everything, which all these geographical destinations. So that makes basically Turkey unique. We have perhaps 3% in our territory in Europe. We call Trakya or Thrace, but 97% in Anatolia. But it is a melting pot. It is the farthest point of Europe in the east and farthest point of Asia in the west. So therefore, Turkey is a unique. It's a melting pot of various cultures. Anatolia witnessed so far more than 23 civilizations. And we all have the remnants of these civilizations in our bloods. So therefore, in the beginning of the interview, I told you it is very difficult to describe a Turk. Of course, Turkey has a long history. We come from the Central Asia all the way due to severe winter conditions, due to our mobility, due to fighting against enemies. We moved slowly, and with the year of 1071, with the 11th century, the gates of Anatolia were opened to the Turks with the great Seljuk Empire. So since then, our mainland is Anatolia. However, Ottoman Empire was, as you know, stretched out on 3 continents. So it is very possible wherever you go, in the Balkans, in Europe, in Caucasus, in Central Asia, in Middle East, Northern Africa, you see the spirits of Turks, of being Turkic, somehow similar. It can be the cuisine, it can be a language, it can be a gesture, custom, tradition, whatever it is, which gives us a cultural depth. So what we are trying to do is that to make use of cultural depth to build more bridges. So I guess that was your question. I have been always an optimist, tend to be optimist. People know me in that way. I never lost my optimism throughout my career, despite the fact that I face many challenges. But this is what we need to focus on. We need to focus on our commonalities. We need to less to discuss what diverge us, but rather what unite us. If we think like this, this is valid also very much for the Islamic community in this part of the world, for the Middle East, for the Arab world, and maybe for the Levant region. However you describe it, it depends from which perspective you look at. So we need to focus more on our commonalities, and which is huge. Believe me, it is huge.
Yeah, that is a great outlook.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. That's a great message, actually.
Thank you very much.
Yep. So, but speaking about segmentations and different groups and so on and so forth, we have the younger generation these days who depend highly on the internet, and who believe and read everything right off the internet. And we, as we know, not everything that they see and read there is what's actually happening, or the message that we want them to hear or understand from us. How can we communicate better with the younger generation and provide them the right messages and the right plans and the future outlooks, and lead them into the right direction, versus just have them, be segregated and segmented and divided from the information that they are seeing?
Absolutely. I mean, today the world is facing with various challenges. Ethnic sectarian division is on the top of the list, perhaps. Less tolerance, extremism, in all ways, which we need to refrain, of course, we need to avoid. For this to happen, we need to communicate more. I fully agree with you. Let me start perhaps the phenomenon of globalization, which we started to discover towards the last decade of the 20th century. When the internet entered into life, when the cell phones entered into life, we are bound with them. I mean, to be very frankly, my new model cell phone was broken somehow. I cannot take any picture, and then I had some difficulties to use some applications, even sometimes to connect some internet. So as if that I feel naked. On one hand, of course, it is a very useful instrument, gadget, to have the information and then to speed up the information. I talk to my colleagues, I send instructions to my staff, I talk to my superiors in Ankara, to my family members, so everything is good. However, we should not use the human touch. I guess here the key word is human touch. The more we bound with the globalization, this electronics, this gadget, or with this information technologies, the less we use human body. But at the core lies talk each other. We need to talk each other. It starts in the family. We need to talk each other within our families, in our friend circle, in our societies, in our job, in our offices. And so is actually the same case with the younger generations. We need to talk to them. So today's parents mostly, in order to get rid of them, their children noisiness, they give them a kind of small gadget, they play them, tick, tick, tick, tick, tick. But this is not a solution. If you lose the contact with the younger generations, then it can be inward looking, they cannot socialize, and there could be some other deficiencies. And in my judgment, extremism is one of them. It comes all lack of communication. Perhaps in our childhood, we didn't blessed with that kind of economic and commercial opportunities. But we had our small football ball. We used to play within the place. We didn't have that huge, nice facilities. We used to have some small facilities. We used to play in our neighborhood with our friends, and it was he can hide and seek or some other games in the street. We enjoyed our traditions, customs more in Ramadan during Eid, for instance. We used to go and visit our graveyards, visit our elderly. I don't say that it doesn't happen. It does happen. But mostly nowadays, for instance, holidays or Eids are said to escape from work. I can also understand to a certain extent because globalization makes us very tired. We would like to get rid of all these difficulties and then rest somewhere, be alone, or do whatever we wish. However, again, I come back, should not lose the communication. And it starts with human touch, dialogue.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Thank you.
So just to come back now to our political status here, in the recent past, some of high-level delegates visited from Turkey, and they came to visit Jordan, and there were some discussions that were had. Will you be able to tell us a little bit about that, and if there were any agreements that were made, and if we're going to be seeing them soon, or are we already seeing some things?
Yes. I start maybe with a common word, bereket. So I guess that I came with the bereket here in terms of exchanging delegations, probably. I have been here for the last 8 months, but within this short span of time, there had been really very high-level delegations between both countries. In March, we sent Prime Minister, His Excellency Prime Minister Mülki to Turkey. It was an extensive talk. He was also received by President Erdogan. He had with Binali Yıldırım, the Turkish counterpart, wonderful talks. He was accompanied at that trip also with 5 ministers. Each had talks with their counterparts. So far, we had 4 high-level trade missions or commercial delegations from Turkey to here. One of them was, by the way, a large Circassian delegation, composed of business people. Men and women. Yeah. So they were also very successful in order to explore more here the opportunities. Very recently, we welcomed here the Minister of Transport, Maritime and then Communications of Turkey, His Excellency Mr. Ahmet Aslan. He did not have only talks with his counterpart, Mr. Cemil Mücahit, the new Minister of Transport, and not only with His Excellency Prime Minister Mülki, he also paid a visit to Aqaba. Throughout his visit, I accompanied him completely, and he had really very useful talks with the Aqaba authorities, with ASEZA, with ADC. We all visited port facilities. We went up to the checkpoint Dura between Jordan and Saudi Arabia, and also we had some inspection and good talks in the King Hussein International Airport of Aqaba. Right after that, we also welcomed here a parliamentary delegation composed of 4 parliaments within the Turkish Grand Nation Assembly. Basically, they wanted to discuss about the modalities of the bilateral relations in the field of legislation, but also to emphasize more about the July 15 failed coup attempt that we faced last year. We are approaching towards the 1st anniversary. So in all their contacts, they met in the Senate, in the House of Representatives with their counterpart, with the friendship groups. They gave interviews to the Jordanian media. They attended also in a think tank meeting in the Middle Eastern Studies Center 2 days ago. So all in all, they wanted to share our views, what happened in Turkey since last year, what kind of difficulties we face in terms of security, politics, economy, finance, education in all these fields, but also what kind of exchanges we may have. Still, after this interview, for instance, in 2 days, I will be heading again back to Aqaba because there will be a military ship frigate of Turkish frigate within its piracy mission in this all Africa and then Suez Canal and also Gulf region, Aqaba Gulf, Aqaba region. They will be coming to Aqaba, so I will accompany them. And right after that, again, I will be having another Turkish parliamentary delegation, mostly Union for Mediterranean, in that context they will come. They will have again some regional and international meetings, and after that they will leave for Palestine by the land road this time. So all in all, taken together, the relations are very active. I'm very happy with it.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great news.
Thank
well,
you.
I thank you, Mr. Ambassador. We're going to take another short break, and
Sure.
we will be right back to continue our
Absolutely.
interview.
Thank
We'll
you.
be right back. Welcome back to our interview with the Ambassador, Mr. Murat Karagöz. Mr. Ambassador, you had mentioned earlier that we are celebrating the 70th year of the relationship between, the diplomatic relationship between Jordan and Turkey. What are the plans of celebrating this occasion?
Yes, first of all, with few words, let me tell you about a little bit about the background of this diplomatic relations. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, in 25th of May 1946, Jordan became independent, as you know. And then at that time, Turkish government sent a delegation led by the then Undersecretary of the Foreign Ministry here to Amman. They met with the government officials and basically gave the message of the then Turkish government that we are ready to recognize Jordan and to establish diplomatic relations. Please tell us whatever we can do. The then King Abdullah I very much welcomed this message and said that, let me visit Turkey, meet with the great leader of Atatürk, and meet with the officials, and then we can continue about our relations. He visited first in 1937 to Turkey. This time, when after the independence, of course, Atatürk died at that time, 1938. So King Abdullah I paid his second visit to Turkey, or after the gaining independence of Jordan, his first visit to Turkey in 1937 January. Then the leader of Turkey was İsmet İnönü, the second president. He met with in Ankara, and in January they signed a friendship and cooperation treaty, which is still valid until today. And the Article 1, first article of that treaty says there will be an inviolable peace between Turkey and Jordan and between both nations. So this agreement is still valid, untouched. So this is basically the basis. And after that, a couple of months, the Turkish embassy opened here in Amman. So specifically in April 1947. So that is basically the background. And since then, we enjoy really wonderful relations. The leaders changed, the governments changed. However, the strength of the relations in depthness didn't change. So it's a very strong and bold relations today between Turkey and Jordan. And this year, when I started the office, I checked that. So this is the 70 years of anniversary. We established a platform with the different entities who has the word Turk in front of it. Among them, of course, Turkish Embassy, TİKA, Turkish Development and Cooperation Agency, Turkish Airlines, Yunus Emre Turkish Cultural Center, and Turkish Jordanian Friendship Society. So we met a couple of times and decided this year, with various time frames, to organize some event, which we did actually. And as an indicator, we tried to focus on some international dates. For instance, on March 8th, International Women's Day, we hosted here some Turkish artists, two ladies, one Turkish soprano and then pianist. They gave here a concert, but on that margin, they delivered a speech, and we awarded the Turkish women members of the Turkish society, which are integrated in Jordan many decades, who really became very prominent, who contributed throughout with different segments of the society. That was one of the events. Another one was, for instance, April 23, which is observed in Turkey as Children and Sovereignty Day. We brought a Turkish NGO called Sosyal Ben. We brought them, these guys, this volunteer, young volunteer, they came to one of the UNRWA, so Palestinian refugees camp, Viktat camp, and they train the kids. They give them education, they give them sports, artists, painting, gymnastic, science and technology, in various ways, in dancing. So throughout 1 week they did, and then at the end of the day they performed, and then wonderfully. Likewise, in that very day, here in our garden, we brought together some Turkish, Palestinian, Syrian, and Jordanian kids together, mostly from some orphanage, and let them enjoy this International Children's Day. In May 19 was also another remarkable day, commemoration of Atatürk and Youth Day. We celebrated here with our youth and then scholars here. And May 21, that was the peak of that day. We had a big concert from Borusan Quartet in one of the big hotels here in Amman. After that, we gave a big dinner, and then from royal family there were 6 members, by the way. I'm very proud. Some members of the government, MPs, senators, businessmen, really media representatives. So we are very proud. When we are looking towards the end of it, we will be having maybe some movie days, maybe some lectures, some academic and cultural events, maybe some exhibition, and as you know, that the peak will be the National Day, the proclamation of the Republic, which will be October 29. So we are very happy to enjoy our relations, and then we look forward to make it more known Turkey in the Jordanian society.
That is wonderful. So a full year of celebration.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
Go back to what we had discussed earlier about July 15th. That was the day of the unsuccessful attempt against Turkey, which we are all glad that it was unsuccessful. It left Turkey a little bit shaken. And then since then the government and people in charge have started taking some action to treat this situation and try to bring a little bit more peace and calmness back into the area. What are some of the challenges that Turkey is still facing today because of that incident?
Yes, I mean, last year, July 15, basically 1 year ago from today, we faced one of the darkest days in our history. July 15 event, so thwarted coup attempt, bloody coup attempt, was one of the most dangerous moments of the Republican history. While we are very sad that we lost 250 citizens and also left injured more than 2,000 people, actually it should be very much valid to call them martyrs to defend the democracy and the establishment of Turkey. On the other hand, we are happy that it is over. And we are happy that Turkish people embrace the democracy. However, as you very well said, the trauma is still going on. I can sincerely cannot say that it is over, because it was well prepared and stretching back decades ago. It turned out to be that it was not a regular military coup attempt which we witnessed before in Turkey in the 60s, 70s and 80s, but it is more than that. The elements belonging to Fethullah Gülen, who portrayed himself as an Islamist, as a simple preacher, actually turned to lead a notorious terrorist organization, because he wanted to capture the state apparatus. His members infiltrated silently in the arteries of the state. Minister of Justice, Minister of Education, security apparatus, army, in my ministry, foreign ministry, in some other places. So therefore, it was not easy to bring the culprits of these events. Of course, the perpetrators who went on the street on that day, who bombed the Turkish parliament, who wanted to assassinate Turkish president, who bombarded the headquarters of the Turkish army and then Turkish security forces, were somehow captured. And then they brought into justice. The proceedings are still going on. There are 78 court cases in 23 provinces of Turkey. So the trauma is basically still there. But what the Turkish nation succeeded was remarkable here. We should underline this one. Basically, they embraced, at the expense of their life, at the expense of their family members, they defended the motherland, the Vatan. I guess this is the common word. They defended the flag. They defended the values, while people are crying. But as I became still emotional, so I agree with you that it was good to see that they embraced the land. There is only one Turkey. What is more impressive is that since I came here, I met many Jordanian people. Every second Jordanian people said me that in the first months. Still they are saying that, Ambassador, on that very night, maybe we were here, but we didn't enjoy whatever we did. If we were eating, if we were drinking, if we were playing or spending some, we didn't enjoy. Our hearts and minds were with the Turks, with the Turkish people. We were communicated some family members who were at that very time in Istanbul, for instance, chatting through some communication through the internet, what happens in Turkey. And then we were watching the TV, we were hearing the radios, and then basically on the next day, only noon or even afternoon, we could take a deep breath. So that was really very, very bitter episode. We are not over that, but it was really very important. As I mentioned, that we are still struggling to overcome the trauma of this existential threat. As I mentioned, that 78 ongoing court cases are there in 23 different provinces. And right after that, as you know, state of emergency was declared, and Turkey is still exercising this state of emergency. Actually, this is not basically a unique case. We see also some other places. In some parts of the United States, we see this. France, for instance, also exercising state of emergency. So it happens. Of course, we would like, we don't want to continue with the state of emergency, but the conditions are still there, and the operations of the justice and the security still going on, because they were really hiding themselves very successfully. They seemed that very moderate people, very nice, very easy to communicate, and portraying themselves in a different way. But how we discovered them? Because they used a kind of encrypted communication system, so-called bilog, and thousands of, 10,000s, maybe 100,000s of people were using this. And relevant Turkish agencies are still working on this, try to discover who used this, who downloaded this program in its communication, and for what purpose it used it. And what is also strange is that they still believe that Turkey will fail, because they brought in the very first interrogation, they mostly confessed what they did. They said that yes, we are bound with Fethullahist, we are culprits of Gülenist terrorist organization. Our great leader is Gülen. We did this. We wanted to capture the state. We wanted to overthrow the country and wanted to bring it into turbulence. However, once the situation now changed, this official court cases started, they changed the language. They said that we were not aware what was going on. The pilots that bombed the people, they said that, no, I was not there, although the camera recording was there. Or the people, I will not call them actually the military people, because the Turkish army is a very a very highly dignitary institution of Turkey. I'm coming from that family as well. My father is a retired admiral. I do respect Turkish creator. However, they were really terrorists in the uniforms of army. I can only call them in that way. While they were sitting, killing civilian people, they're now denying that they didn't do this. They captured hostage the chief of general staff. Can you imagine? Many generals. And then they wanted to continue. They prepared the list. Who will be, if they succeeded, who will be the new leadership of Turkey? So in all details, they worked and they planned it. It is not an issue of an overnight. And of course, they infiltrated in the state organizations. Many of them also within the conditions of state emergency were taken away from the offices. But the legal aspect is still open. To date, over 300 institutions that were shut down have been reopened. So the state works basically. More than 30,000 public employees have been reinstated through administrative boards of review. But again, we must be very vigilant. FETÖ is a very dangerous, notorious terrorist organization. When we terrorist organization, when we mention, we all have in our mind Daesh, PKK, YPG, PYD, or DHKPC for the leftist, extreme leftists in Turkey. But FETÖ, terrorist organization, is not less dangerous than the others. God save Turkey, God save the Turkish people. And on this very occasion, I would like to thank, through your channels also, to the Jordanian government, Jordanian public, showing great solidarity with that night and after that until today with us. These guys were, as you know, had organizations in 150 countries all over the world. Schools, media outlets, printing houses, commercial houses, businessmen association, etc., you name it. And they had schools there here as well. And thanks God, immediately the Jordanian government took the necessary steps and kicked them out. Also directly involved in this process, the FETÖ elements of this gang out of its borders. So we are very happy with them. We look forward to working more with the Jordanian government on this issue as well.
Wonderful. You know, I was watching July 15th, and I have to say the Turkish people, the people of Turkey are very brave. They are very brave in how they came together. It was amazing to watch. True. You know, it was a horrible day, but also there was a part of it where you saw people who came together in an amazing way. Absolutely. You know, they were
Everyone
very brave.
was united.
It was great.
I mean, the political parties today, big discussions are going on. You know, recently we had this referendum. Political parties were split. Everybody defended different things. But what was very remarkable on that night is that leading party, main opposition party, third party, with a Kurdish-dominated party, everyone was united. Yeah. And our parliamentarians went while they are bombing the parliament. They were on session in that midnight extraordinary session, and they were so brave. And people on the street, and then this 250 martyrs and shaheeds, they were really so brave. They left on the asphalt in front of the tanks. They stopped it. They climbed on the tanks. They stopped it. And President Erdogan, who really escaped in a very short notice, maybe with a couple of minutes from this assassination attempt, through some media communication, through some FaceTime program and other, addressed the people and said that those who are behind this will be punished very harshly. And I invite my people to the streets, and then please defend your country, defend your government, which the people did.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was great leadership, great people coming together, great bravery. I mean, and everything came together quickly, you know, so that's True. You know, mashallah, and may God
Thank
bless
you. But
Turkey.
we must be vigilant.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
you know,
always.
that doesn't mean, you know.
Absolutely.
It was, you know, it was a wonderful thing to see.
Yes,
you know, a country
thank
come
you.
together that way is lovely.
You know, we feel this in Jordan as well.
Yeah.
Thank you once again.
You.
Fear froze in the dark, Stern death with a shot. Despair crowded in some hearts. Below Turkey was in danger. Courage took to the streets. Dreams stood before tanks. The jets hit the turn beat. Martyrs reached highest ranks. Long live democracy. Long live fraternity. Long live love and unity. Long live for our country. Long live democracy. Long live fraternity. Long live love and unity. Long live for our country.
Erol benim bir yol arkadaşım. Abdullah Pırlanta bir yavru kuştu.
Bağlama reis.
Siyah nedir ey vatandaş ellerimiz kaldı. Acı nedir be kardeşim anam neden vuruldu. Baba oğul yan yana vatan için vuruldu. Baba oğul yan yana vatan için vuruldu.
Murat cezayir marşı salvıza kovda. Şehrin tesiri oy marşı uzak vakınga. Vişi bakuzri oy marşı zarıp kazıp kun qala bulwami oy marşı Murat sozawa. Wawinib zawfari oy marşı kızır ulaşta. Sultarga müstavra oy marşı Murat kastan
So just just to take a lighter note now.
Sure.
NART TV is a humble corporation that works very hard to maintain the Circassian culture and language and history and the Circassian folklore dance. I'm not sure if you've seen any of it here in Jordan.
I did. I did once, yes. Maybe more than once. But again, as I mentioned during the interview, as you said that I met together with the Turkish Circassian community who came here for some economic and commercial purposes. In the Circassian community headquarters, we met together with the Jordanian members of them. So they were together. I listened some music, I tasted some food, and also some folklores.
Oh, great. I hope you liked it. Yeah?
I did, of course.
Great. So, us being a humble TV station and a small corporation and, working for a cultural, a cultural thing, we have some concerns that we're not going to have the full support, or we don't have full interest to keep this kind of thing going. How can we work together with the Circassians in Turkey to keep this going and to keep the message alive and to keep people motivated and wanting to help and maintain the message that we are trying to send out throughout the TV through the TV station?
In my judgment, the basics are there, because there is, or maybe there are, some Circassian associations in Jordan, which is good. I guess that there are many in Circassian associations in Turkey as well. So first of all, they can communicate each other. There could be some exchange of visits. This is one of them. Secondly, in order to explore more about cultural commonalities, through media, and NART TV could be an instrument, you can contact with some media institutions in Turkey. Of course, the umbrella institution is TRT, Turkish Radio and Television. However, we have tens and hundreds of other TV and radio channels in Turkey, local. With them maybe you can contact, and then we can explore about these opportunities. Some important days could be celebrated together, as we do with the 70th anniversary, for instance, which is important for the history of Jordan, for the history of Turkey, about some commonalities. These could be some occasions to celebrate about this common culture. And then some gatherings, some events. It can be a conference event. There can be trips, which is very important, because trips is really very attractive. If you organize that kind of sightseeing tours and trips from Turkey to Jordan, or from Jordan to Turkey, that could be really instrumental in terms of strengthening the ties between both communities.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Well, Mr. Ambassador, we want to thank you very much for this wonderful interview and for taking the time out. We're sure you are extremely busy. And again, we completely appreciate taking the time that you're here with us, and this was a wonderful meeting.
Thank you very much. I guess so. I was also very happy through your media institution to address the Circassian community, which is not only active here. I know that you are broadcasting in some neighboring countries as well. I greet them, and then I send my best on behalf of the 80 millions of their brethren.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We thank you very much for being with us and hope to see you soon.